Oh,
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host Marcie, who is feeling
no.
under the weather. We,
That is an
it's,
understatement.
it's the fact that neither. I don't think throughout this entire semester, I don't think there's been very many shows where both of us have been healthy.
No.
One of it's like we're traded we have not we don't even live on the same continent, and it's like we're trading illnesses back and forth between each other.
It's like how only one of us can have the brain cell.
Only one of us can be
Only one of us
not
can have
sick.
health.
Yeah, but we'll dive right into this and start talking about the Leafs, because I only realized when I was writing up my notes for this episode that we have 3 Leaf games to talk about. I thought we only had 2, and then I forgot about Thursday night's game against Anaheim. So we can jump right into it, because there's quite a bit I wanted to talk about, and I'm realizing now some of it might need to be pushed till Monday's show. Not Monday's, Thursday's show. Today is Monday. Some of it might have to be pushed to Thursday's show. It's going great for us, folks, as you can see.
I'm falling apart.
Finals week is hit it. Marcy's sick. I'm still in the middle of finals. We're really thriving here as a team.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
us. But yeah, Toronto versus Anaheim on Thursday night, which was the 12th. Um, yeah, Stolarz gets the start against Lucas Dostal. Jake McCabe returns to the lineup,
Yay.
returning the blue line and our defensive pairings to AKA what they've been since we got that started 3 weeks into the season. Pairing back up with the best shutdown pair in the NHL, actually, according to Money Puck right now.
Oh, yeah.
Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev, which is really nice.
It feels nice. Feels good.
There's certain luxuries that the Leafs have right now that are we're not used to having. Of course, there's some trade-off because they can't score goals to save their life, but that's beyond the point. What my first note here is that the Leafs start on the back foot, and and that kind of has been a consistent trend through this recent stretch of games, is just not coming out of the gate charging and
Mm.
being forced to, you know, like be put on the back foot by lesser opponents.
Yeah.
We saw it with Pittsburgh. We saw it with Washington. Well, I wouldn't call Washington a lesser opponent, but we saw it with Pittsburgh. New Jersey, not necessarily a lesser opponent, but Chicago, we saw it. Nashville, we saw it. We saw it tonight with Anaheim, and I'll probably bring up this point again when we talk about Detroit and Buffalo. But it's this thing where it's I don't know what it is. All I'm asking is the Leafs to score the first goal of the game. I think it's not that hard to ask.
No, please. Because, there's something so soul crushing about watching every single game, especially when I'm not well. And just watching us get scored, it's like the immediate just despair.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if we could score at all, that'd be great. But if we could score the first goal, I won't feel
It would be pretty great.
I wouldn't feel as sad and hopeless and
Yeah.
doomed.
Um, yeah, I will say though, this game though in particular, was really an opportunity for the second line of Nylander, Tavares, and Pacioretty that we saw at the start of the season before Pacioretty got hurt, thrive. And
Yeah.
this line, I'm I'm sorry. Okay, I will admit I was not the biggest fan of Max Pacioretty when this contract got announced. I think I went on many impassioned rants about it specifically.
Oh yes.
apologies to Max Pacioretty on that one. I feel like I owe him an apology. I will
think he
admit that I am
listens to them
wrong.
all as like motivation.
I think I was just mostly maybe he was just listening to me going like, but he doesn't have a functioning ankle.
I bet.
Which like he doesn't, but like it's basically being held together by like string cheese. That's his Achilles at this point. And like yes, okay, he has missed games. Like he did just come back to the lineup from injury, the whole thing, whole debacle, and it's fine. Like, and I apologize, but I also do realize that like Max, I think some of it is like we hadn't seen him play a considerable amount of games in so long because of all of his Achilles injuries that he was having, that like I knew him as the Max Pacioretty who was the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, who was this really high scoring guy. And then I had known that he had had played in Vegas and then had garnered this reputation of like slowing down from being that really high scoring, dangerous guy. Like he was frustrating when he was with the Montreal Canadiens. I do remember that as I remember that. I'm a Leafs fan. Of course I remember that. But, and it was really frustrating and not really frustrating, but like, and then like, no, wasn't aware that he had then taken upon himself to reinvent his game to be this gritty, hard hitting, really physical player, because that's not who he was the last time I watched him play a considerable amount of games, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And hats off to him, because it takes a special kind of player to reinvent his game and to kind of change your role in a lineup, especially when you spent most of your career doing one thing, to then switch and like maintain aspects that makes him really dangerous, like that made him really dangerous. And like his shot, he has a wicked shot, but like to add other aspects like his physicality, like we saw in this game as well, but also as well like against New Jersey when he laid that hit on Jack Hughes. So it's all those sorts of things. So Max Pacioretty, I apologize for ever doubting you. I didn't realize that you were capable of this because we just hadn't seen it from him in his career. And it's something new that he's sort of doing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's really working out for him, obviously, and it's really working out for the Leafs, obviously, if we look at this game in particular, where all of their offense came from this third line of Nylander, Tavares, and Pacioretty.
Yeah.
And there's my apology to Max Pacioretty.
Max Pacioretty, we apologize for our crimes against old men.
Old men. But yeah, so I think also as well as just like this line, I think also as well as like I think no one could really predict or expect John Tavares to have this resurgence that he also has this season, playing like it's 2018 again. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about the game against Buffalo, obviously.
Yes.
But yeah, just yeah, Leafs scoring. I do have to say one note, Stoller's was hurt in the first period. And I think this kind of was the big story of this game, was that Stolarz left this game hurt. Finished off the first period, but did not return for the second. And Joseph Wool went in, and there was the world's biggest moment of confusion when I look up from my phone at the start of the second period and see Joseph Wool in the starters crease, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
No, 'cause I'd gone to get myself a drink. I come back and I'm like, oh, it should be starting again soon. I look at the screen and I'm like, what are you doing here?
It was like one of those things where like you see him and you're like, oh, it's Joseph, and then you realize you're like, wait a minute,
hang on.
you didn't start there, and then
Like,
the panic sets in.
I made a tweet, and it was quite literally just me being like, Joseph, and then like, huh?
I think, and then immediately, I mean, I feel like rightfully so as well, but like immediately everyone goes into panic mode of like, what is going on? Leafs PR announces that Stollerz will not return to the game against Anaheim due to a lower body injury, and then and this was also as well was a Sportsnet broadcast on Thursday. Yes, it was. Was this game on a Thursday? Yes, it was. Yes. Was immediately then was like, oh, like let's go and find out where he got hurt, because like what? And then there's this one save where he just seems to like, you sort of can see him tweak his lower body, and then just
It's unfortunate.
yeah.
Yeah. It was literally, it was like, I was so confused. Because I was like, at what point did this happen? And I think because everyone else was just like, what, when did this happen? And then like
Yeah, they showed
the
this
clip,
one
I was
save
like,
where he stands up and just looks kind of funny, and the way Joseph Wool even talked about it too, he was like, yeah, I was just like sitting in the locker room, and then like before we went out, he came over, like tapped me on the shoulder, was like, you're going in. So like good on Joseph Wool for being able to go in cold
yeah.
like that. You know, I know he was only sitting for a period, but like still,
Mm.
goalies, man.
Goalies,
So
I'm right.
Joseph Wool did have a great game, you know, considering he went in cold as well.
Mm.
And now he will have to, you know, kind of be that guy for the Leafs, at least for the like considerable future, because uh, like the options there are really limited.
Mm.
You kind of are left with, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the game against Buffalo and Dennis Hildeby, but like he wasn't. Yeah, he'll be the
Yeah.
guy. And the Leafs are going again. December's a really busy month for the Leafs. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with this. My notes here are like, I'm looking at this and I'm realizing now we also have to talk about like the penalty kill. Um, the Leafs penalty kill, it's it struggles at some points, and I think it just struggles more so when the Leafs are taking dumb penalties, and it kind of
Mm.
exaggerates that.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, and I think though helping, like not helping, but like having Jake McKay will help.
Oh yeah.
Having him come back will definitely help. He's a huge part of that penalty kill, and is a huge part of you know, being that shutdown pair with Chris Tanev for the Leafs and being put into those situations. So I mean, overall, like what I have from this game is like the second line is good. I like that second line. I don't think you have to mess with that second line. I think there's so many questions about the Leafs in terms of certain aspects. One of them is finding a 3C, because, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the game against Buffalo. I'm realizing now I'm like, so much of what we want to talk about is dependent on last night's game against Buffalo, but like Max
Mm.
Domi is not a third line center. I feel like I'm not like a crazy person for saying this,
No.
but yeah, Leafs get the win here as they should against Anaheim. Like,
I don't think I'd be sat here right now if they'd lost against the Ducks.
well, it's also just one of those things where it's like they're coming down from like they lost in a shootout to Montreal. This like
Mm.
stretch that they've been on, this like road trip that Anaheim has been on, is they lost in a I literally last week watched 3 different Anaheim Ducks games. I've never watched the Anaheim Ducks that much in a season. I've seen them 3 times. I watched them 3 times in a week, because on Monday, the only hockey game I could watch legally, because I really like was not about to mess with the stream. I was just like, I just will put on like what I can get, and that was the Prime broadcast, and that was Habs and Ducks. And then on Wednesday, yes, because I was at lessons for Y night on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the Sens and Ducks, and I had to watch the Sens because I cover them for Offside, which we will talk about that in a little. We'll have to talk about the Sens. I don't like talking about the Sens much on the podcast because I'm like, I also write articles, and if you want to hear my thoughts on the Sens, go read my recaps. That's how I get people to read my stuff. But we will talk about the Ottawa Senators specifically because there was a fun little thing that happened over the weekend with them. But again, had to watch them on Wednesday, and then I was watching them on Thursday because they played the Leafs. I watched a lot of Ducks hockey. One of which is holy crap. Ducks they've got good goaltending and like nothing else going for them.
Yeah, it is miserable over there. Like, I just feel bad.
It's one of those things too where like I like I don't understand them as like not as an organ. I don't understand them in the way of like their team identity. Like Radko Gudas is your captain. Okay. You made Radko Gudas, and someone could be like, well, now they have Jacob Trouba, so they have more of that physicality. Maybe that's their new identity. But like when you made Radko Gudas your captain, you did not even think that you were going to have the chance to acquire Jacob Trouba.
No.
So here you are making Radko Gudas your captain, a team where like, I'm sorry, like no one else like comes close to that sort of like style of play. I don't know, like they're not like a very physical, hard-hitting team. It's like Pat Verbeek has a concept of a plan of what he wants his team identity to be. That concept of a plan includes basing it around Radko Gudas. It's like, why are you basing your team around Radko Gudas where you have really high level skill guys that you just are not developing? But like you have guys who are like, you have high skill guys like Frank Vetrano, even Troy Terry, I'd argue, who's still only 27. I don't know why I thought he was so much older than that, but like you have a lot of young, high skilled guys in like Mason McTavish, Leo Carlson, Lucas Dostal. You have Cutter Gauthier now, who like, yeah, like you have him now. Sorry, I'm just reading through their roster. Trevor Zegras, Olin Zellweger, Pavel Mintyukov. Like, here are all these like young, high skill guys that you have that you can really build your team and your roster around and kind of develop them properly to build a team. But like, you're not, because your captain is Radko Gudas, and I feel like that just doesn't match what you can be. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, that's like,
and some of that comes from a player development standard, and you saw that the way that like John Tortorella talks about Jamie Drysdale when he first arrived in Philadelphia last year when he got traded there, of like, we have to reteach him everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're one of those teams that just like confuses me. Because like they obviously have the potential to be something, but like aren't. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
you're now making your team have this identity that kind of revolves around Radko Gudas. And I understand, okay, maybe like he's a really great veteran in the room. I don't know. My personal opinion on Radko Gudas is not very high. And that's like more of a personal thing than anything else. But also it's like you look at his rap sheet. If a guy has a entire section on his Wikipedia page that's literally like suspensions and incidents,
it's not great.
Doesn't really give me a lot of comfort that you're then, making him a captain of your NHL team. But like that's just me. Again, I'm not in charge of the Anaheim Ducks. This is not an Anaheim Ducks podcast. What I will say is that like Jacob Trouba is there now.
Yeah.
And I watched him in 3 games and I didn't really notice him a whole lot. Which like could be the same for when he was with the New York Rangers, and I'm sure New York Rangers fans, like our editor-in-chief and site founder Avery would agree. Really thinking of Avery this trying time though, and we'll talk about the New York Rangers a little bit later in the show. Yeah. But really, really feeling for Avery. Every time he comes in, he's like, guys, it ain't looking too good. I'm like, no, it's not, Avery. No, it's not.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
He's going through it.
He really is. He really is. But yeah, I don't know. I will say though, the one thing I did learn about Jacob Trouba this week is that he wears 65 with Anaheim because 8 is retired for the Anaheim Ducks for Timo Solani, and he wears 65 because that's the year his parents were born. I can't wait to go home for Christmas and tell my dad that he is 1 year younger than Jacob Trouba's parents. He's probably gonna listen to this before I come home. Maybe. I don't know. His drives to work aren't necessarily as long as they used to be, but like,
oh my god, my dad is 4 years younger than Jacob Trouba's parents.
You can bring that up the next family dinner.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those things where like I heard it and I was like, oh. And then I like thought I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then I realized what number he's wearing, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, what a fun Christmas dinner conversation that's gonna be.
Ooh, I can't wait. Break up all the Mitch Marner trade talks.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so again, moving on from the Anaheim Ducks, Leafs win. We're good. We're solid. We're good to go. The point is, Nikita Grabenkin has been sent down to the Marlies, kind of officially now with Bobby McMann back, Bobby McMann off of IR and back in the lineup. It was fun to have him up. Obviously, he does need more time in the AHL to come up and stay up long term with the Leafs, but looking forward to seeing him develop as a player. And it was really nice to get to see more of him because it's so hard to watch the Marlies now.
Yeah.
With the new streaming service. But I do appreciate getting to see his play a little bit more and getting to know him a little bit more off the ice. He seems like it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to like follow you as a prospect and a young like 21-year-old prospect. Because it was one of those where it was like it's also his first season playing in North America. And so I saw him, we saw him in preseason quite a bit. I got to see him in person in Ottawa in preseason, and it was fun to watch him play, and it was fun to watch him play at the NHL level even more. So,
yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just upset. It's so hard to watch the Marlies now.
I know, because like you really want to, because there's like a bunch of young, exciting guys on that team.
I don't want to watch them.
Yeah.
But I can't do that because the AHL hates whimsy and fun and women. I don't know.
and women.
And me in
Jesus.
particular.
But yeah. So moving on to Toronto and Detroit, well, obviously, I think no surprise gets the start here in Detroit against Billy Husso because Cam Talbot is injured, which is a new one. Is having a guy have like a big ceremony like that and have him not play in said game because he was hurt. Cam Talbot had a ceremony game for 500 wins. I think it was it 500 wins or was it 500 games played? I don't remember because I didn't write it down. It's fine. We can figure this out. 500 games played. Okay, not 500 wins. Apologies. But yeah, 500 games played. Dude, like definition of a journeyman, like a goaltender journeyman, has played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different teams in the NHL. But undrafted and has had a crazy long career. He's 37, so hats off to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was the only thing that I will note is like, why was Justin Hall part of that? So like,
they did it for me.
What?
They did it for me.
It was the fact that like everyone had this. You could see all the Leaf fans had like the same reaction of, wait a minute, Justin Hall? Why is he a part of this?
People like tagging me and stuff about it, and I was like, I have a brand.
Well, yeah, when they mentioned like pregame, because we're talking about Canada, when they showed like the players like walking in, and they mentioned like Joseph Woll and Justin Hall in the same clip, and I was like, that's Marcie.
They did that for me. For me. As a
but
treat.
yeah, no, that was just a really weird moment where I was like running through my head. I was like, how? Because
why?
It was the thing of like why? Because Cam Talbot is from Ontario. Justin Hall notably is from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They like never played together prior to this season. Justin Hall does not wear an A. Usually it's you have the A's. Unless like Cam Talbot and Justin Hall are just like really good friends.
Best friends.
Which like new information to me. I don't know. It was like one of those things where I was like, wait a minute. What?
No, it was I wish you could.
Was it because they were playing the Leafs? Like,
I wish you'd have seen my face though. Because it was like when they said Justin Hall, I was because I was just on my phone, and then I was like,
no one saw any of that, but like I saw it. But yeah. Also, as well, speaking of former Leafs, Jack Campbell was the called backup for this game because Talbot was hurt. So there was like multiple shots of him just like sitting on the bench, chilling there.
He's just a guy. He's just a dude.
I'm happy to see that he is back, playing.
Yeah.
He's been after coming out of the Players Assistance Program, he's been mostly playing in Grand Rapids in the AHL. But it was one of those things where it's like, oh, so we got to like probably maybe see a couple of like I know the Leafs had a really quick turnaround because they played less than 24 hours later. But maybe there was a small catch up between the like three former Leafs that were on the roster that night for Detroit. Eric Gustafsson was one of them as well. Like he's there, and it was like one of those things where I was like, you know what? Whatever.
Sure, why not?
Again, the Leafs once again started on the back foot. Who's surprised? Not me. And the Red Wings opened the scoring. Again, who's surprised? Not me. I feel like we're starting to develop a trend here, and I don't like it at all. It they need to stop doing this. I don't know why they're doing this. Just stop, please.
Begging.
And they were making a couple of defensive mistakes early on in kind of ways that where they're like totally leaving Joseph Bull out to dry, and like he can make some pretty big saves. He just is also like human.
Yeah. Like, yes, he's insane. Yes, he's incredible. He's also just a guy. There's only so much you can
Literally,
do. He's literally just a guy.
literally just a guy. But yeah, they also like at least, and they fixed this again against Buffalo. We'll talk about the Buffalo game in a little bit, but they just needed to get their shots on goal higher, especially against Billy Huso, who like had gone a year without a win in the NHL, and the Leafs just gave it to him. Like, get the shots on net. Literally, just get the shots on net. Drive the net. Put the puck on. Like, just shoot the puck out there.
Yeah. Like, please.
Yeah. Like, they just also like, and I didn't realize that like Detroit Red Wings defense was that good. Maybe it was the Leafs. Maybe part of it was the Leafs because the Leafs just kept getting boxed out and like weren't. I don't know if it like they couldn't get to the net or if they just like weren't. But like, hey, you should do that. Just suggestion. Is it because I stopped talking about driving the net? Is that why?
Potentially. Like, I just want to scream, cry, lose my mind. It's painful.
Yeah. Mitch Marner had a goal called back in the first period for offside. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I understand you want to get the call right. You know, we've seen it before. We've seen it actually many times. Like, we've seen it before where like a call gets missed and it ends up having a team win the Stanley Cup because of it.
Yeah.
Literally, we've seen this. We've seen this in a
Yeah.
game 7, and it's a hypothetical situation that always the panel, because it's always a discussion with the panel whenever there's a call that's this close about a call getting called back, that they're then like, okay, but game 7, Stanley Cup final, overtime, this game-winning goal, whatever. We've seen it happen where a call has gotten missed. Buffalo Sabres will tell you about it. Dallas Stars will say, hey, we won them, we got our cup, right? We've seen it. Mike Modano, foot in the crease, the no goal game. Do I have to, right? We all
We've
know our
all been
NHL
there.
history. We all know our NHL history with that one. I feel like if you were going to do a retrospective on the Buffalo Sabres, you'd start with that and go all the way till now. But again, that's another topic. If anyone at Offside wants that article idea, it's all yours. Probably Bri will take it, but like, it's just, there's something about it where it's like, when it comes to the point where you're splitting hairs and you're like, there's 2 inches of like you're offside by like 2 inches. And I get it. This game is like the sport, and this game is a game of inches. Everything's always, oh, but what if? Oh, but it's so close. But just like, why are we splitting hairs over this every single time? And it was the same, and we saw this in the Buffalo game with that called back delay a game penalty. Which, like, try explaining to your roommate who doesn't really watch hockey the concept of a delay a game penalty that then gets reviewed and called back.
Yeah. I can imagine that was a wonderful experience.
I was like, it got to the point where they called it back, and I was like, ignore everything I've just said. It doesn't matter. Like, don't ask any more follow-up questions.
Like, nope. Everything I've told you, it was a lie.
Literally, I was like, thank you. But it was like, literally, they were zooming in, and they were like, it was like, oh, did it glance off of Max Pacioretty's stick? Like, why are we splitting hairs? Like, it's a thing too where I'm like, I get it, they're reviewable. It's in the team's right to review them. But like, we introduced reviewable offside. Like, offside is something you can review a goal for. Because like Matt Duchene was 27 feet offside and the linesman missed it. That's what it's for. It's for like egregious offside calls where it's like so obviously offside when you watch the play live, right? Like it's one of those things where it's like
Yeah.
if I am watching it and like I don't see the offside in real time and like you have to like zoom in and slow it down, like if you have to go computer enhance and like zoom in and slow down a footage to be like, hey, look, that guy was like 1 inch offside. Then what's the like at that point I'm like, did it really make that big a difference?
Like,
Is
is
that
it that deep?
really like is that really where the goal was scored?
It's like,
And
is
it's really different
three
than the reason why
centimeters.
we had that goal, which is the Matt Duchene like 27 feet offside, where it's like, no, 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 no. This is offside. It was
Mm,
just a missed call. Whereas like that was like, yes, it's still off. And I know it's black. You can be like, well, it's black and white. It's either onside or offside. It doesn't really matter. But like, I'm sorry. I just think that when we go to the situation room, it slows down the pace of play, and then we're stuck staring at the same replay by 4 different angles for 5 minutes. And I'm like, I just want to watch hockey.
literally, it's like,
Do I think that goal getting called back would have had the Leafs win the game? I don't think so. I think they would have still found a way to lose it. It's the Leafs. But I'm just
yep.
tired of the like doing this all the time. And I know this is a topic of conversation that's getting brought up at Board of Governor meetings is about the speed of offside, like not offside, but about the speed of like reviews and call reviews and things like that. So,
Mm.
anyways, Austin Matthews scores for Mitch Marner, which like fork founding kitchen on that one. And Matthew Nyes also gets one where he's again net front, and this is where I go. I'm like, drive the net. Matthew Nyes, drive the net. Like I want him to be that net front guy for so like I want him to find that niche because there is like you have John Tavares and things like that, but like
Mm.
Matthew Nyes really could turn himself into like the next Chris Kreider in terms of just being a guy who can sit net front and be big and tip pucks in and battle in the corners and like still have the skill to like make plays off the rush. Like essentially prime career Chris Kreider.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already got the weirdly codependent relationship with his teammate down, so he's
Yeah.
sorted. He's
Yeah.
halfway there. But yeah, he's just so fun to watch because he's just massive and there, and I'm like, you have got this down. Like, you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Um I will say funny point of this game is Austin Matthews loses a skate blade and like has to get pushed along the ice by Jake McCabe and then literally like
Oh,
dragged onto the bench by his teammates.
it was so funny. Like, it's the way that Jake McCabe just kind of flung him.
Just was like
Like,
push.
it was just like the full body, just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Austin Matthews was asked about that after the game. He said he'd never had that happen before to him. So he kind of like didn't really know how to deal with it. But
no.
yeah. And the kind of Leafs, like, yes, they got a goal off. They got that Matthew Nice goal, but like they were back to not really driving the net. Like there was a week this season where like I stopped like we're like you know what I mean? We're like there was a week this season where just like math like the Leafs were playing the way that they should have, with the way that they
Yeah.
should be. Like everything was clicking, and it was like this, and it felt like this team was never going to lose again. And it's like they need to re-find that. I don't know, like
Please.
what magical concoction of like goaltending, hitting, defense was there, the offense was scoring, like it was just all coming together. I need that back. I want it back.
So
Um and I think some of that is maybe they're getting complacent because they have such good goaltending that they're like getting lazy and like they don't have to rely on like winning by outscoring, which is like, hey, you should still do.
yeah.
I'd still appreciate that if you would outscore your teammate. Thank you very much. But um there's also, and okay, now we're going into Buffalo. Sorry, I'm realizing now this is taking us so long to get through like 3 games. But Dennis Hill, so after this game against Detroit, Anthony Stolarz was placed on IR, retroactive to December 12th, making him eligible to return on December 19th, day before the Leafs play Buffalo on the 20th. So
Yeah. Fingers crossed. But no, this was such a fun like baby girly off.
it was a baby goalie off. Yeah. So Dennis Silsby was called up against Buffalo to play against Devin Levi, who was called up specifically for this game and immediately was sent back down this morning.
Yeah. Oh, oh, Buffalo. My guy. You
I have
get
so many
over
questions
there.
about the Buffalo Sabres, but
Yeah.
it was again another slow start.
Mm.
Where like Buffalo was like able to score 2 goals in like the first 5 minutes off the first like 6 shots.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you're like, oh no, it's gonna be one of these games, isn't it?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be one of those games when the 2024-25 Buffalo Sabres scored a goal against the Leafs a minute into the
Literally
game.
a minute into the game. Yeah. And
I
like
was
some of
sat
that is
there,
like
just,
you want those
oh,
saves from Dennis Hildeby, but also some of it was just like, where was the defense? Not there. Because there was some lineup switches around for this game. I want to make sure I get this right. Connor Timmins comes out. Philip Myers goes in with to be on with Simon Benoit in the third pair. Pontus Holmberg comes out. Nick Robertson goes in on the third line. And Fraser Minton comes out, and Domi moves to 3C. So you then build a third line of Robertson. No, sorry, McMahon was on that side. Sorry. Then you build a third line of McMahon, Domi, Robertson, and it worked somehow in this game, and we'll talk about that. But like Max Domi is not your third line center. I don't know how many times I have to say it.
no, like, it just isn't. Stop trying to make him be something he's not.
Like, can we stop? I don't know what Ty Domi has on Craig Berube. I don't know how much money he's feeding this guy. Like, and like, yes, okay, he scores in this game. He gets the point. We're all like, oh, wow, the goal is like he scored a goal this season. But like, why has he been able to play all the way through this stretch?
There are some things I fear we will never understand or be able to make sense of, this being one of them.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, so Max Domi, at least come back, obviously, or else we'd be talking very differently about this game, that's for sure. Um, but Max Domi, yeah, his first goal of the season. His first point since like October. It's December 15th this game was played on. It also was the first assist of the season for Nick Robertson.
Nikki.
And this was, and I would, and let the amulet jokes begin, though.
Oh my. I just.
I was having too
I
much
feel
fun
like
with
I'm
it.
going insane.
Yeah. But like,
Do the amulets work?
could the amulets work? And we'll discuss that in a little bit. But yeah, just Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson also scores as well on literally continuing everyone's thought that if he scratched every other game, he's on like a 20 goal pace. Because like that was a goal scorer shot. That was the second time he scored from that low of an angle, where it's like
Yeah.
you really only see like Austin Matthews taking a shot from there most nights, below the face-off circle. Um, and just brilliant, gorgeous. Good job, Nick. Good job, Nick. It was one of those things where it's like he's been kept out of the lineup for a couple games now, and you're like, we really don't need Nick Robertson. Like maybe we've seen him play his last game as a Leaf, and then like he gets added back into the lineup on essentially like a skeleton crews game, and like does something like that, and then you're reminded, oh, wait a minute, maybe we do need Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well then what do we do? What do
What
we do
do
with this
we
guy?
do?
Um, but yeah, now let's discuss the Ode of the Amulet. John Tavares, Natural Hattie. I'm gonna walk us through these three goals. John Tavares, the first one was angled off of his shin because of a um, Austin Matthews shot. Gorgeous. It's sometimes, when you play a sport with a puck made of rubber, it bounces the way you'd like.
Boing.
At this point, the Leafs have now tied and taken the lead in this game, and you can see kind of the energy really deflate from the Buffalo Sabres. They just, the wind comes out of their sails.
Yeah, if it wasn't the Leafs playing against them, I would have felt bad.
Yeah. It's like really sad to look at. They're on now a 10-game losing streak,
Again, losing streak.
and they're going up against Montreal, who like is still like, I know they're in the middle of a rebuild, and I know they're like tanking right now, but like is not quite as sad to watch at the moment.
No.
Like in the way of like they're moving, like these two teams are moving in two different directions.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, John Tavares again playing like it's 2018 again.
Oh,
Uh,
John.
I'm not complaining. I love 2018 John Tavares. 2018 John Tavares was a very good hockey player. Um, that one was just like, and he could have had like 2 or 3 more goals in this game. Did you see the one time he absolutely destroyed Bowen Byram's ankles
Yes.
and that like didn't score, but it was like one of those things where I was like, John Tavares, that's the hottest thing I've ever seen you do. Just absolutely destroyed Bowen Byram's
Oh,
ankles. Like it was crazy.
I
I was
was
like,
sat
oh
there,
my
I saw
God,
it, and
who
I
is
was
this
like,
man?
John, stop it. Like, you're crazy.
Um, but yeah. And then John Tavares finishes off the natural Hattie. That's right, it's a natural hat trick with
Oh, yeah.
the empty net goal to seal the deal for the Leafs. Um, it's his 13th career hat trick. He's on a 40 goal pace for this season. The last time he scored 40 goals was in the 2018-2019 season with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, just saying.
John, John,
John.
John. And like us as well, Dennis Hildeby had a much better second half of the game. Like he had a rough start, but he was able to make some pretty important saves through the second half of the game. Um, it's interesting though because like he is probably at the moment the Leafs like fifth goalie on their depth chart.
Mm.
You know, you have Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz, which yeah, they're like 1A, 1B, or they're just both one. I really don't like. I don't think I can. I know some people argue being like, well, Stolarz is a better goalie. I'm like, you can't really rank them. Joseph
Mm.
Woll had a rougher start to his season. Just like his numbers aren't as great because he was coming back hurt. Like I'm sure if you, I would want to do it. Like I'd probably look and like see what his numbers were like excluding like his first couple games of the season
Mm.
and see then like where they compare to each other.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have Matt Murray who is hurt right now. I'm hearing like some people are like, oh, he's not hurt. I think he's still hurt.
Yeah. I've not heard anything. Really. It's been a bit quiet on the Matt Murray front.
Well, because people were like, oh, he played. No, I don't want I don't want the one who's on the Admirals right now because there's two Matt Murrays and I hate it.
Two Matt Murrays.
There's two Canadian Matt Murrays.
Because of course.
There we go. There's Matt Murray and then there's Matthew Murray, and they're not the same person. One of them plays for the Admirals, the other one plays for the Marlies. Okay, so no, because he did play this weekend, but he didn't play the full game. So he's coming back from injury. Like some people are like, oh, but he's not hurt. I'm like, because he played on the 14th. He didn't play the full game. He only
No.
went in for he only played the first he only played like 2 periods. And then Artur Akinyamov went in. But you have him, so it's like kind of like Matt Murray, then it's probably him, but like also as well, Artur Akinyamov like hasn't lost a game in regulation this season.
Yeah, he's like
For the Marlies. He's been playing lights out for the Marlies. And then you have Dennis Hildeby, who's had kind of a rough season this year. But like Archer, like you don't really want to take Akinyamov away from the Marlies.
Yeah.
At the moment. Also, especially because like he is younger as well, I think, than Hildeby. Or they're the same age, I think, actually. And then also as well as like Matt Murray. A lot of people don't realize that like Matt Murray would have to, when you send him back down to the Marlies, would have to be put on waivers.
Yeah.
And buddy, I hate to break it to you. I know Alex Nylander cleared waivers. Matt Murray's not clearing waivers.
Nope.
People are like, the goalie market is still bad. It's why we carried Martin Jones for like half the season last year, more than half the season last year. And we went with 3 goalies, is because he would have gotten claimed. Same can be said for Matt Murray. There's still teams out there that are desperate for goaltending.
Yeah.
And Matt Murray is one of those guys who's a veteran guy. He's won a Stanley Cup. Yeah, he's won. Did he win? He won 2 with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's won. He's a Stanley Cup winner. Like, has that veteran status to him. He's 30. And like in the same position of Martin Jones, where it's like you can put him in and like get consistency out of him, which is like kind of at the moment what a lot of teams kind of were looking for. And I guess like Colorado has kind of solved that problem, but like there's other teams out there that could use the goaltending. So I understand the decision behind calling up Dennis Hildeby also, as well as like he's already made his like he's already played games in the NHL. He has that familiarity with the team and with the guys and with the room and with the whole process and everything. But yeah.
Oh, Dennis.
But yeah, so Dennis Hill, yeah, Dennis also as well did the goalie goal attempt.
Let Dennis Hilderby score. Let the man score. Because, like, it was a very, very good attempt. I was like, okay, girl, I see you.
And was stopped by JJ Peterka, and I just have to wonder, why does JJ Peterka hate fun? Because honestly, if that had gotten just a little bit more height,
And
that was bang on.
oh, it would have been
It was
so
one of
perfect.
it was like one of those things where it's like you have to recognize that like you don't see goalie, especially Toronto Maple. Like I can't remember the last time I saw Toronto Maple Leafs goalie go for the goalie goal. And like,
And then Dennis Hilderby comes along.
yeah.
But oh no, it was like I was just so hoping that it would work. Because I don't know how many more sad Dennis Hilderby post games I can take. Like he just kind of looks like a little cat that's just been kicked and then left in the rain. It's really sad. Poor Dennis.
But yeah, but Leafs ended up getting the win anyways, and I feel like, and you know what? I'm gonna do it 2 episodes in a row. John Tavares, natural hat trick. I can't even look at you when I started this.
Do you want me to look away?
No, I just can't look at my laptop screen. Team, I know we've had, it's hard to play game back to back. And like, I really want to say, good job, you know, by us tonight, really coming back and getting the win. You know, we gotta remember what's really important in this moment and like kind of what pushed us over the edge to get the win tonight. And that is the amulet. I know you may not believe in the woo-woo magic stuff, but I really think important that you guys invest in this incredible business opportunity for you to pass along this magic to your friends. And this power and the strength that this amulet gives you. Can't you keep laughing? I have to like mute my headphones. You have the opportunity here to really be your own girl boss. Just like Max. Look at him. First comes on board to the amulet team. Team Amulet. And that's his first one of the season. I'll have free samples at the door. Don't forget to take a business card on your way out.
Another business card.
I think we have postcards too. Alright, I'm done. I think I've killed Marcie. But yeah, no, Leafs, like, I'm glad they won this game because, I mean, it sucks for the Buffalo Sabres for going on a 10-game losing streak. Now into Montreal. And it's like, it's a little bit concerning. Like, their owner, Terry Pagula, went all the way out to Montreal to have a meeting with the team and the GM and everything. And then, like, said that they don't expect any big trades to happen and, like, don't. Essentially, it summed up to, don't worry about it, guys. It's fine. You can do it. Which is, I'm sure, really reassuring to a team that has lost 10 games in a row. And, like, it's sort of this thing, and it was kind of brought up on the broadcast where it's like I haven't seen a slide this bad And like this just this like this like not I guess upsetting is kind of maybe what I'm looking for.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. It's like I haven't seen it this bad since like 2014 Leafs had a really bad stretch in January of like 2015.
Yeah.
Where they essentially between like New Year's and February 20th won 2 games.
Oh boy. No, like
that is I need people to realize how bad that is. That's
so
bad. It's so bad. And like that's kind of and it's like you don't see that very often.
And
this is what I mean when like people start to panic about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm like, guys, it's been worse.
It's been so much
We've been
worse.
Buffalo Sabres level or bad.
Like I think just watching the Sabres lose game after game has very similar vibes to my GCSE maths mock. Where I went in really confident that I knew what I was doing, and I came out of it with 21%. And my teacher had to hand me my test face down, and then I went to maths club on a lunchtime. And I still didn't get much better. That's the vibe of the Buffalo Sabres right now. Like, they're going through it. And it's, ugh.
And it sucks. And it's like, it's so demoralizing too, because it's like, the team has really good pieces. And it's like a lot of the solutions that people are proposing, and it's like, well, they've gotta, trade away this player, this player. I'm like, when will you learn that you cannot, like, the Buffalo Sabres should not trade away a young under 25 forward who maybe is having a down season, because it's always going to come back and bite them in the ass.
Oh, yeah. Like, because at the end of the day, if you do that, what do you have left?
Like, it's the thing where it's like, there's so many high draft picks on that team. You have two first overalls. Hold on. Let me just pull this up here. I want to make sure I'm getting this straight. No, hold on. You have more than that. Yeah, no, you have 2 first overalls. Sorry. You have a 4. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh my god.
11 first round picks on this roster. Two of them are first overalls.
And
okay, yes, Rasmus Dahlin is out hurt. But like
still. Oh god.
There's so much young talent here, and it's like I do not understand what is going on. I don't get it. And this team confuses me. This team, I think, is one of those teams I think people have been expecting for years to like light it up. And I get it, they're a young team, and we're kind of seeing this with the Montreal Canadiens, where they can get streaky, they can have games where it's like you think they're starting to really hit their stride, and then they just have a bad game full of mistakes because they're young. But it's like they're not even having that. They're not even able to like put together streaks of multiple wins together. And I think that was a conversation that we were having about this team last year on the podcast as well,
Yeah.
talking about that, where it's like they just haven't been able to link together wins.
Hmm.
And that's kind of a problem because it's like if you're not able to link together wins, but you can link together losses, everything starts to like pile up real quick.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just
It's not looking good.
it's not no, it is not looking good. Um I don't know. I just have concerns about Buffalo, their ownership and as well as
Mhm.
like their front office confuse me. I don't know why they rehired Lindy Ruff. I understand that like the coaching market seemed kind of nah after kind
Yeah.
of what happened with everyone getting a new head coach last season. Essentially, it kind of wipes out the market, but like you're telling me that's the best you could do? Was your ex? Sorry. Sorry. Just like think of this in terms of a relationship for a second. The best you could do was your ex.
Like it's genuinely, it's like watching your friend
Oh, it's
who's like
it's watching,
what
yeah.
they're gorgeous go back to this
To the
crusty, like tragic situationship.
it is watching your friend go back to their shitty ex while you've been telling them to block and delete their number for months.
Yeah. And it's like talking to a brick wall.
It's a car crash you can't look away from.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I guess I'll be there to pick up the pieces and pat them on the back and
And
take them out for
drink a
ice
bottle of
cream.
wine.
Yeah. We had two very different answers there. You can tell one of us is cutting down on our drinking.
Yeah, one of us is cutting down on drinking. The other one has just had a wine night to help the friend get over their ex.
I also had a wine night this week, but that was because we had sushi.
Oh dear.
But yeah, there's some more other teams to be concerned about. The New York Rangers is another one of those. I don't know if you saw the post game of Alexis Lafreniere crying to media. Oh yeah,
Bruh.
it's like
That's so bad.
it's so bad. Um, the New York Rangers obviously they've traded away Jacob Trouba, offloaded his contract. Um, and it's not getting better. Haven't they won well, so they traded away Jacob Trouba, lost to the Blackhawks 2-1, beat the Sabres, but that's just like that's like coughing baby versus coughing baby. Eventually one baby is going to cough louder than the other. Um
Yeah.
Lost to the Kings 5-1 and then lost to the Blues 3-2
Oh
yesterday.
boy.
That they play the Predators. They play the Nashville Predators tomorrow. That I think will be a game that a lot of people will be keeping their eye on just because it's the Nashville Predators. Again, coughing baby versus coughing baby. Which baby will cough louder is essentially that matchup again. And
Oh
it's
boy.
it's just one of those things where it's like everyone had the New York Rangers kind of expected to do well this season. And there's still time for them to turn around their season. Like, I think it's not too late to push the panic button. I mean, they are losing out in a playoff spot to the Ottawa Senators.
Bruh.
The Ottawa Senators. I'm sorry. That's been my week, has been like, oh, well, I guess the team I cover is in a playoff spot. I guess I have to face that reality now of potentially getting a Leafs Senators first round matchup. If that happens, I'm moving to a yurt. I'm
Or you could
deleting
move
my
to
social media
England.
presence and moving to a yurt.
Like, oh, I think that might be the end of the world.
um, but yeah, It's a thing too where it's like the New York Rangers are better than how they're playing right now. And I don't know why they're playing the way they are. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a player thing. I don't know if it's like some magical like curse that Jacob Trouba placed on them when he left. I don't know. All I know is that you have a really good goal. You have good goaltending, Igor Shesterkin. You just gave him a 8-year contract extension that no one is going to be able to foot the bill if he decides he wants out of there. And you have like a team. You have young guys that are like fun and exciting to watch, and it's just nah. And it's frustrating. I know, if you look at them in the standings, they're fifth in the Metro right now, which is not the greatest thing in the world. They're tied on points with the Penguins and the Islanders, not on points percentage, just on points numbers. They've played 2 less games than those teams, but like again, you have a worse record than the Ottawa Senators. The Ottawa Senators with the roster that you have. And I know the panic is starting to happen in MSG. I know there's panic among the fan base. I know there's also just defeated resignation among the fan base. Again,
Yeah.
apologies to Avery.
I'm so sorry, Avery.
And it's rough out in New York.
Yeah.
New York State, not the place you want to be.
No.
Like
Still far away.
Like I think to put it into perspective about like this kind of stretch that the Rangers are having. They're in their last 10, they're 3-7-0, which is worse somehow than the Blue Jackets 3-5-2.
Oh, that's
It's worse than the
upsetting.
Montreal Canadiens 4-5-1. And if we wanted to go over to the Western Conference, it's the same as the Chicago Blackhawks 3-7-0.
Oh boy.
So yeah,
It's rough.
it's rough. And I like don't know how you can address this and change this. I know there's quite a few fans who are asking for trades. I mean, Brady Tkachuk is not your answer. Can we stop talking about Brady Tkachuk? That's like my biggest qualm is that no one should be talking about Brady Tkachuk as much as we have in the past like 2 weeks.
No.
Between like everything that's been going on. Stop. And I say with the utmost love to Brady, and as someone who covers the team he plays for, really, no one should be talking about Brady Tkachuk this much. But yeah, on a more fun note, we had a fun little EBUG situation in Ottawa on Saturday night, where Anton Forsberg, who was due to start against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Ottawa Senators' final home game of 2024, because of World Juniors being hosted in Ottawa, they are going on a 9-game road trip over the holidays. It is their Canadian West Coast road trip. I am absolutely thrilled for it, as you can tell by the joy in my voice about seeing the multiple 10 p.m. start times.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Do you know how badly the Sharks, like their game against the Sharks that started at 10:30, screwed me over?
Quite a bit.
Extremely. But yeah, so because Anton Forsberg tweaked something, couldn't start, and because the game, it literally was right at game time, Linus Ullmark went out for warmups and started the game. But that means you have to have an EBUG, and the EBUG on call was none other than the University of Ottawa's backup, Zach Dietz. I go to the University of Ottawa.
Woo!
I do not know Zach Teets personally, in case before people start being like, oh, do you know him? I don't know him personally.
But you're actually
Um,
best friends.
I'm best friends with Zach Teets. But it's really cool. It's because the other two goalies who are further up, who get the call before him, aka like Ottawa's, we have our starter, Frankie LaPena, was writing an exam and also just spent he was also named to the U Sports like All-Star team and just spent the week at the World Juniors Team Canada training camp with them, sort of not to make the team, but just to like train with them and stuff before they go. And there's some university hockey tournament over Christmas that they're playing in. But yeah, it was a story. I think he was going to the game. So this is the full story. He was going to attend the game with his girlfriend, who also plays for the University of Ottawa's women's team, and gets the call. So him and his girlfriend have to go and pick up his equipment from his girlfriend's aunt's house, and then they have to drive to the arena. Now, if you've ever been if you've ever driven, I should say, if you've ever been to Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa, you would know how bad that one off ramp is, because there's the one off ramp to the arena, and it's pretty bad. The traffic there gets pretty brutal, especially like in around close to game time, and traffic wasn't moving. So Zach made the decision to jump out of his car and run along the side of the highway carrying his gear in the hopes that he could make it to the arena faster than he would be had he been driving in the car. And so then we get this really great video of him that's been circulating all over social media of him running along the side of the highway carrying his hockey gear in a signed Josh Norris jersey, because that's what he was going to wear to the game.
I love goalies.
And it was really great. Yeah, it's just one of those really cool moments where like he didn't end up sitting on the bench because he had to be the emergency backup for both teams. Should anything happen to both of the Pittsburgh Penguins goalies, that's just the rule. But so he did sit in the locker room. They had a jersey made up for him and everything, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where like that's just a cool story and it's really fun. And I thought I'd share it with you guys because, you know, go GGs. Oh, it's cool. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, I probably will see this guy on campus and he's just some dude.
Just a dude, just a guy.
Just a dude, just a guy, but yes. In some other news, I know we talked about a couple episodes ago about how there was potentially we could see a team in the QMJHL, the Acadie Bathurst Titans, move to St. John's. That sale of the team has been approved for $5.5 million, so that is happening. No one has provided any answers on travel logistics for this team. Someone was like, well, they could fly. And I said, good luck getting the rest of the teams in the queue to agree to flying, especially those who would be in the same division. And so then would be playing more than just like 2 or 3 games against this team, agreeing to fly their players out to St. John's, because flights like are expensive and you're not chartering a plane. And you have to do it for like a full team. And you also have to then organize transportation. It's like a thing where it's like, it's the queue. Like these guys travel by bus. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that like the travel logistics means that like St. John's and like Newfoundland can't have a high level hockey team. I think they absolutely deserve one, especially, you know, after losing the Growlers last season.
Yeah.
But like the transportation and like that logistic of like travel and stuff for teams is part of the reason why the Growlers left, like why the Growlers folded, is because it is so expensive to operate a team out of Newfoundland because of the travel requirements that you have to go visit other teams off of the island.
Yeah.
So we will see. Someone like, again, I will be happily proven wrong if this ends up working out in the long run, but I don't know, because like not only is like all the other team, but like that if you're gonna have them fly, that's 64 divided, that's 32 games a year in which you have to fly. Maybe some, they'll do weekend road trips or things like that. But like, again, teenagers,
Children.
teenagers. These are like 16 to 20-year-olds, teenagers. It's a junior hockey team. This is not a pro team. This is a junior hockey team.
Yeah.
They're actually like they're children. Anyways, also as well this week, Team Canada announced their World Junior roster. We will do a full video breaking that, not video, we'll do a full podcast episode breaking down the World Junior rosters closer to Christmas. But for the Leafs, notably, Easton Cowan made the roster, as well did, so yeah.
Yay!
We will, yeah, so we'll see. They are currently having a team bonding camp sort of deal in Petawawa.
They're making friendship
Which
bracelets.
means they're making friendship. No, they're doing military simulations, apparently. According to Mark Masters.
Yay! Sure.
All right. But yeah,
Why not?
that is again like the World Juniors honor tradition in hockey. I think especially like every Canadian who watches hockey is like remembers watching the World Juniors. But yeah, so Team Canada's roster was announced. They had a team picture over the weekend that they took at Parliament Hill. I went because I had nothing better to do with my time. It was a Saturday. I was like, I'm in Ottawa. When's the last chance? Like, when's the chance where I'm going to get to do something like this? There was less people there than I thought there would be.
No.
But also, it was like an entire like minor hockey team, like of like 8-year-olds. And then like a couple of other people. Like I met this really nice girl who was also there who was like, yeah, like I was like, I watch the tournament every year and like I'm from Saskatchewan. Like I watch the tournament every year and like I had nothing better to do with my day. I just thought, oh, I'll come over and like see and like, see what's going on and things like that. Like it's kind of cool to like see them because you don't really get to see them. They did bus there from their hotel around the corner, I should note, which is funny because they were probably better off walking with the traffic. But the jerseys looked nice. They were wearing their black jerseys. I posted a picture on my Twitter of the team. I did not say much to them besides because then at one point the photographer, their comms social lady who was with them was like, everyone get in the picture. So like we all got in this picture. And so then the most I said was like, I turned around to the guys who were standing behind me and I was like, hey, good, as like after we had taken that picture being like, hey, good luck, guys. I think it was Oliver Bonk standing behind me. I don't know. They're all taller than me. Okay. They're all taller and bigger than me. And I felt really weird. I was like, I am older than all of you. This is strange.
Yep. Like, you are children.
It was really funny though because it was like cold. It was freezing. Like I had a hat on, I had mitts and everything, and they're all standing there in like ankle socks and like joggers that aren't long enough for them because they're all like 6 feet tall.
Oh.
So they all got like a strip of ankle exposed because they all have like little ankle socks on. I'm like,
They had their ankles out.
their ankles out.
Scandalous.
The only one who didn't was Luca Pinelli, but that's because he's actually like 5'9". He is short.
Oh god.
But yeah, I don't know. Just yeah, tournament starts on Boxing Day, like it does every year. Canada like always has the latest like game slot of the day, probably because they're A, the host country, and B, for broadcasting, like the biggest market for the tournament. So, but yeah, I think that's all. I don't know if you have anything else to add. I don't have anything else to add.
No. Yeah, we have covered everything on my list. Look at us go. So on top of things.
Well, then we'll end this here. We'll be back on Thursday. I forgot what day of the week it was. We'll be back on Thursday for another episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk about the Leafs playing. Who do they play next? We never even discussed that.
Dallas?
Yeah, they play Dallas on Wednesday.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, we will talk about the Leafs playing their one game against Dallas on Wednesday that I'm assuming Joseph will start because that makes the most logistical sense. Can't wait for the Dallas Stars social team to make a big deal about how they have a bunch of guys from Ontario on their roster again. Do you remember that video?
Yeah, it's like
they were hyping up a game. It was like, again, I think it was like this time of year too. It was like a game in December against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it was getting like a playoff style hype video because they have a bunch of guys from Ontario.
Is it that deep?
No, but also like it also just like perpetuates like everything that people think about the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's like it's always about the Leafs. I'm like, yes, because you make it about the Leafs. We don't do anything.
No, we just sit and kind of suffer.
It's you guys who make it all about the Toronto Maple Leafs. But with that being said, on a podcast about the Toronto Maple Leafs, thank you guys so much for listening. We are affiliated with Offside News. You can find them on all social media platforms at Offside News Co. You can also find all the articles that are published, including I just had a recap about the Ottawa Senators that went up yesterday. That you can go find at offsidenewsco.com. You could find the show wherever you get your podcasts, or you can follow it on Twitter if you never want to miss another episode, or if you want to see some clips and highlights from some of our podcast episodes. There was just one that went up about me doing a killer John Tavares impression.
It was incredible.
Over at offside, not offside, at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4TH. That clip also got reposted to Offside, so you could probably go find it there too. But yeah, you can, if you find the two of us funny and you think we're absolutely hilarious and you don't want to miss out on us being funny, you can also go find us on Twitter between episodes at 60 Leafs for Marcie, at PearB1 for myself. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back on Thursday with another episode. Go Leafs, go.
Go, Leafs, go.